Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And a lot of conversation about Mike Pence being a different kind of vice president than Joe Biden was, more like a Dick Cheney, very much hands-on. What do you see?
Well, I don't see much difference. They both had great connections to Congress. They both were trusted advisors to the president. I don't see any enormous difference. I think we have to wait and see what role Pence actually plays.
Professor, I know you were not a Trump supporter,
No.
but now as you see a week and a half or 2 weeks into his presidency, how do you feel about the team he's surrounding himself with? It seems to me that he's reaching across and trying to bring in the best people out there. Would you?
Well, I would hope that would happen. The Bannon appointment certainly didn't make a lot of people encouraged about that. His meeting with Mitt Romney is terrific. I predicted that he would bring Romney in. Romney is a great guy, was a great governor. I think he was a great candidate. He lost. And I do think reaching across the aisle, I would love to see him reach out to Joe Lieberman. I would love to see him reach to some Democrats. I think so far it's a wait-and-see attitude for Democrats like me who are hoping to see an administration that heals and builds bridges and reaches across the aisle.
Alan, let's go back to Steve Bannon for a second, because you were in the news earlier this week.
Right.
You made some comments, which I would say were defending Steve Bannon against some of the media reports that were saying things about him. Give me your take in terms of what happened.
Well, he's not an anti-Semite, and I think it's very important not to throw that term around.
Well, first of all, being Jewish, I can also say, I can come on air and say, I know he's not anti-Semite because I know some of the people he surrounds himself with. How do you know that he's not anti-Semite, despite the fact that you watch other TV networks and they run banners at the bottom of the screen that he is?
Well, I never believe what I see on the media without checking myself.
No way.
Okay,
I don't believe any of them anymore.
I checked. Joel Pollack was my former research assistant and student. He worked with him. Joel wears a kippah, married to a black woman from Africa. I saw no evidence of anti-Semitism. The Anti-Defamation League has now acknowledged that there were no anti-Semitic statements. That doesn't mean that there are no other elements of bigotry within the Breitbart. I am not happy about the way Breitbart treats women in its headlines, sometimes treats Muslims in its headlines, and so I didn't defend Bannon. I defended him against charges of anti-Semitism.
I don't agree. I think Breitbart is great.
Well, you have a right to that view, and
it's very important, though. It's very important because I don't think viewers are seeing that anywhere else, and so I think it's very important that you get that out. And by the way, Sheldon Adelson, who became a major supporter of the campaign at the end of the campaign, would never, and you know, would never, as pro-Israel as he is, give any money to anything if he felt that Bannon was having a bad influence as it's related to Israel or anything with the Jewish state.
Well, Sheldon's a good friend of mine. Yep. His wife Miriam, a good friend of mine. They're terrific people. They would never do anything. But we all have to think carefully and study carefully records of people like Bannon and also people like Keith Ellison, who are now being proposed for head of the DNC. And I think we have to look very hard at this man's record. This man has a very, very mixed record. He's had to apologize over and over again for his connections with Farrakhan, with other extremists. Yeah. And so I think the Democrats have to look very hard at Ellison's record before they promote him to so high a position. I also think the Democrats are making a terrible mistake in how they react to this election. Yeah. They are moving hard left. That's not the way to win elections.
Why would you do that, knowing that the country just voted in the center to right?
Not only that, but the people who voted against Hillary Clinton and for Trump are kind of hard-working middle Americans who want to see economic reform, but they do not want to see a move toward the hard political left. It is an invitation to disaster in the next elections. The Democrats have to move more to the center. They have to pick up votes where they lost votes, but to move ideologically to the hard left. And Ellison is a hard left appointment is a serious mistake.
I agree with you 100%.
I was just going to say, Mr. Dershowitz, I couldn't agree agree with you more. I have an op-ed on Fox Business talking about how the Democrats did not respect or listen to the voters, the same thing that the Republicans did in the primary. So can you tell me, you're saying that they should move to the center, but I think it's more about just having a message. I didn't really see a compelling economic message, save for what Bernie Sanders had in the primary, in the general election by the Democrats, and I saw the kings and queens of the Democrat Party looking down upon the base and say, no, you're taking Hillary Clinton, whether you like it or not. So what's the mindset? Where's the next level of generational Democrat leaders? The bench looks really empty to me.
Well, I think the Democrats don't understand that there's a difference between the ideological left and addressing the serious economic concerns, which is social welfare. I mean, you know, we need to have more Jackson Democrats, Democrats who understand tough foreign policy, who understand an approach to our enemies, but who also want to create jobs and infrastructure. And I have to tell you, I think the one thing that Trump is doing a great job on is building infrastructure, building bridges. That employs people. That makes people in the center understand that we see progress. The Democrats have to be moving in that direction.
By the way, one thing that, you know, when you're talking about construction and housing, I don't think you, there's one thing that I trust somebody to do it, and that's Trump.
Well,
construction,
you know,
I think Trump is going to be an expert at it.
Alan, put your legal hat on for 1
Right.
second. What would you like to see President-elect Trump do with the business interests when he goes to D.C. that would make you comfortable that the business interests are separated from the governing?
Well, I like very much his idea of no lobbying after you've served in office. I think we have to address pay for play. We have to address...
No, but specifically with Trump, with the Trump organization.
His kids should run it.
What would you, are you comfortable with that? Is that something?
No, I think that
what do you want to say?
He has to totally disassociate himself. I made the same proposal to Clinton if she had gotten elected. Total disassociation from the Clinton Foundation. When you're president, you have to be full-time, 24/7 president and not even know whether your business interests are benefiting or losing. And he has to do that, and I think he will.
It's harder, though, because he's got his kids running it, and they work there. So it's different.
But he also wants his kids. He wants his son-in-law in the White House. His son-in-law was a student at Harvard. He's a very able guy. But he has to make some choices. You're either running business or you're running the government. You can't be doing both. I think a lot of people voted against Hillary Clinton because they thought she was mixing together finance, business, foundation. Trump has to learn from that and create a complete wall of separation.
Yeah, it's a fair point. You're right. Alan Dershowitz, great to see you.
Thank you.